Welcome to the Blackwood Podcast Morning Wood. I just want to say thanks to our sponsor, Academy Talent, the Health and Social Care Apprenticeship Training Company in Bedworth that are sponsoring us. And if you need any information, get in touch with me direct and I will be happy to help. So, this evening, Christmas special. We have a very well-known man in Welsh rugby, captain his country, and then went on to be head coach in Russia and head coach of Canada. And now he's living back in Monmouth. Mr. Kingsley Jones, welcome on.
Thank you, Sid.
Welcome on board.
You missed the Dragons, eh,
welcome on to the podcast.
So, Kingsley, just going back to obviously playing for Ponty, that's such a huge name in Welsh rugby, and that club's got to carry some weight with playing with it. So what was that experience like, and what were some of the big names who you played with while you were there?
Yeah, no, it was a big step up for me. In terms of like players like Neil Jenkins, Dale McIntosh, Richie Collins, I see these guys on TV playing for Wales or whatever, and to be part of that team with those, Paul Johns, Steve Lewis, Jason in the centres, Kerry Jones, there were some really, really good players. So to be part of that, I think I got sold on it because Richie was genuine about, getting opportunities with the boys, picking up injuries, because the back row was Mark Spiller, Matthew Lloyd, Richie Collins, the Chief, as I say. So, but as it turned out, Chief did break his arm in the October, and and Richie did end up playing quite a bit for Wales. You had Martin Williams coming through. Interesting fact, me and Martin made our Wales debuts together, 6 and 7, but Martin also made his Ponty debut, me and Martin, 6 and 7 against South Wales Police, I remember. So, yeah, a lot of competition, but really good. Again, important to me is at the time, I'd spent time in New Zealand, is about the coaching. I was really well coached there as well. I think Dennis John's a really good coach.
Yeah. He was, and I think, at that time, I had a bit of experience with it, but you was playing more and obviously leading to be around those men and thinking about that time with Pontypridd. As we move on to Ebbw Vale, I think the culture in our club was about the best in the country then, and experience being around those men. Every single man for man, they were all proper people, proper men, and looked after each other. And that set the scene, I suppose, for yourself to move on from there, But I think that's what's missing a little bit in Welsh rugby, is that culture thing. And, they're proper men. They all work together. Everybody's on the same level, weren't they? So, yeah, great club, Pontypridd. So, Ebbw Vale.
Yeah, really. No, really good club. We went to the cup final that year as well. And, I remember Jinx breaking the Heineken points record, scoring as well. And ironically, against Abbott Lady, my old team, I played in that game as well. And a bit of a celebration. I think I didn't remember the number of points, but I think he might have broke 1,000 points in the league or whatever. So we had 1,000 cans of Heineken, which the Ponty boys didn't take long to polish off, to be honest.
That's another thing. They loved to drink, didn't they? Oh, they could drink them, boys.
Ponty boys could drink. I tell you, we went to South Africa, and fantastic game we played against. Again, I started in that game. I was lucky to play some games for them. We played against the Blue Bulls in Loftus Versfeld in Pretoria, after apartheid. And Ruben Kruger, Adrian Richter, some real players playing. And we had a tough game. I remember Joost van der Westhuizen scored. It was pretty close, 13-all, I think, for a long while. And Joost van der Westhuizen scored 3 tries in the last 5 minutes. Oh. Incredible player. And then the Ponty boys got drunk for about 4 days till we got home. Yeah. Well, honestly, characters, and them days, what it was. But we were going to land a plane in the Sahara Desert, I remember, because we were all drunk on the back of the plane. Not all good fun, but a lot of drinking.
I remember Phil John. Phil John was one man that shone out for me. He was you like yourself, a real character around the men, and without even knowing then, like when I was with you in playing settings, environments. The way you deal with people, and it's testing people's mental strength, isn't it? You take the mick, and he had that armory. He was always taking the mick of Neil Jenkins, and I think that's so valuable in a rugby squad or a sporting setting, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it's about trust, isn't it? Coaching, playing together, it's about trust and building that connection. And the best teams, often have the same common shared values. And I think, the big drive for the Ebbw Vale team, Malcolm Shepherd, then chairman, had the vision and I say vision because it was a long while ago, but he was ahead of the game, I think, in terms of players he identified from the area, from Gwent. I always remember saying within 12, 14 miles of this club who were the best players and they need to be playing for Ebbw Vale. And
Wow.
at that time, Di Llewellyn, great player, of course, was down at Neath, and Byron was, I think, at Newport at that time. You know, and I was at Ponty and etc. etc. And yeah, he made a concerted effort. Yourself, all those boys, Blackwood, we targeted. He targeted all that area of where are the best players in these good clubs, you know, proper clubs. And then, of course, the Brackenshire boys over that hill in Ebbw Vale always had that connection. And a strong connection with Monmouth. You know, there was some good players from this part of the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, they had that foresight, and Malcolm's drive was to get us all back there, and he did. And, of course, old Mark, being from Tredegar and playing up in Salford at the time, I think it was, but he got him back. And, yeah, it was incredible team spirit, wasn't it? You know, and to go back to what you said, the crack, like my later days with Gloucester was the same. The heart of the team was the 10, 15 Gloucester boys out of the 30 of us, you know.
Well, that's great, that is. And the one thing I want to touch on, you went on to the Ebbw Vale now. We're going into the Ebbw Vale days, which were magical times. But they were magical because of the work that people put in. Everybody's, again, on the Pontypridd culture. Everybody's on the same page. We do it together, boys. And that's something I've learned from as a man and coaching. But I think for me, Mark Jones was the catalyst behind yourself as a leader. He was the most inspiring man I've ever met in my life. So what's your thoughts on, God bless his soul, on his influence on you and us at that time?
Yeah, massive. You know, I still catch myself. I still say to the kids now, come on, time for bobos. I got that from Mark. He used to say bobos when he was in the hotel. I don't know. Honestly, you know, my mate. Mark used to call me my mate. And I still say to people, all right, my mate. I don't say all right, mate. Oh, I say all right, my mate.
Yeah.
And that's from Mark. And that's just little silly things. But like, you know, his presence brought another level to what we had, didn't we? We had the camaraderie, but the mental toughness. And obviously, he'd been in a professional setup and as professional as it could be in rugby league at that time. And he brought that back to us in that steel. And incredible. The first time I came across Mark, I was in Blackwood Rugby Club.
Wow.
In terms of meeting him. I grew up watching Mark, you know, 14, 15, 16. And I remember him running, and I thought I was a kiddie, I can tackle and all this type of thing. And I remember watching him play, thinking, I don't want to tackle him. His knees used to come up to his ears, didn't they? And he would pump everything. It'd be like, and he was a monster. And I used to watch him in awe in the Scrum 5 or whatever it was called back then. Rugby Special would be on Sunday, and watch Neath destroy all in front of them with Mark at the forefront. And Northmore Youth had their dinner in Blackwood Rugby Club. And again, I was lucky to captain Northmore Youth, and I had to get up and say a speech. And I got up to say the speech, and Mark was presenting the trophies. My hero, like Mark Jones, is there presenting the trophies. So I got introduced to him. I think by your father, to be honest. I think it was said. Come up and say hello to him and everything.
Good God.
And yeah, all entwined in it. Rugby is crazy how we're interlinked and all this. And I remember he shook my hand and he said, "Stick at it," with a stammer. And I honestly, I thought I had so much respect for him. Like, to stand there and present the trophies back to where he came from. And he spoke, you know, he had a stammer, he was nervous, but he spoke and he delivered those trophies. And I had Clubman of the Year, which is the award nobody wanted, but I was more than pleased, and I still got a photo of me given the trophy by Mark Jones. And then this, 94, 95, we were a good team. It was coming at Ebbw Vale, but there was bits missing, to be challenging Cardiff, Swansea regularly. And he was at the second game of the season. We played Newbridge at home, and he was on the touchline watching. And I remember thinking, I was in during the game. I think there's Mark Jones over there on the touchline. So I came off the field, and I was a bit more confident in my older age. I was about 25, whatever, and I went straight over to him, and I asked him what he was doing, and graciously nice to him, and asked him what he was doing in Ebbw Vale. And he said he's going to come back to Union. Of course, it must have been 96 because the game had gone professional. He said he was coming back to Union. And, this is quoted somewhere, but I went in the clubhouse and saw Malcolm Shepherd and Marcus Russell. He said he was going to Newport, Mark. And I went in there and I said, if Mark Jones is coming back to Union and he's going to Newport, I'm going to Newport. And they looked. I said, I am playing against him. No. I said, I don't want to tackle that bloke. I said, he got to be in my team. And fair play to Malcolm. That's another thing we touched on in a minute, but fair play, they went and signed him. But, you know, that there, right, guys, as you talked about the culture we had, it just shows, doesn't it, how much the players drove the team and how forward-thinking Malcolm Shepherd was with Marcus Russell and Paul Russell, that they had the foresight to listen to the players and they trusted us.
Yeah.
And we really felt, I don't know, I can't speak for you, but I really felt like I was our team.
Yeah.
It was our team. It wasn't we were playing for so-and-so or this was that. It was ours. And when we lost or when we, whatever, we took the accolades together. And if we lost together. And it was our responsibility. But go back to Mark to finish on him. Like, what an impact he had on the club, on everybody in our team. Got to hear you say, well, you just said, you're not on your own, as you possibly know. Like, I think he had a massive impact on all of us, you know. And yeah, I became close on... We obviously didn't see each other for a long while, and in the last 2 or 3 years from Qatar, we messaging each other a lot, and I was bloody trying to arrange to meet him in June, and of course it never happened. Bloody sad, but there you go. He'll live on in my mind every day. I think of him.
I use his philosophy, you know, in my coaching, but I like you said, player led a lot of it, but he wasn't a guy that was bossing people about, was miserable. He had his own way of doing things, but he was so infectious. You just grew off him, you know. And you know, I learned so much from the man, and he's my hero, really. Great guy. Sad.
Someone sent me a link to Pontypridd, Ebbw Vale. I don't know, 97 or something. It must have been. It's on YouTube, an old faded video. My boy I got a 13-year-old boy. He hasn't seen a lot of the rugby. I thought, a little bit of memory lane trip for me, and. I watched the game and I was really interested. Main thing that got me stuck to it was the crowd and the atmosphere and Grav and the commentary and that. It was like, what an occasion, you know? Yeah. And we won the game and the camera goes on me walking off and there's a little boy comes up and I start signing a bit of paper and Grav and Wyn are talking about the game and about me in Welsh. And with that, the camera's on me and Mark taps me on the shoulder and I turn round and he grabs me by my head and just kisses me full on for like 5 seconds. Super. And he said, and I remembered, he said, I love you. And he walked off. Yeah. And everyone seen him as that violent, well, as an enforcer. But, you know, and I remember Grav and Wyn, if it goes on YouTube, I think they're laughing like mad at Mark, grabbing me. And I'm almost tangoed, like, I'm stood there like, what just happened? And this little boy is stood there, got a pen in my hand. He's what a character.
Tremendous. I'm glad we touched on him because in his memory, really, for people to listen to the type of guy he was. But during your Ebbw Vale days, before you sort of went on to captain Wales, did you play for the Barbarians, Kings? Did you have a...
I played for the Barbarians in 2000.
After that, right.
After it, yeah. I didn't play before that. I mean, there was the Barbars. You know, it was a difficult period, wasn't it? Professionalism for the Barbars.
Yeah,
we had all those, you know, big fixtures and availability to players. It all kind of ended with the turn of professional. There was uncertainty about it all, and then a few people came in and put some money behind it and got the fixtures back. And I was very lucky to be able to play for them. 2000 great tour. Played against Ireland, Leicester was the last game at Twickenham, and we played against England as well. Yeah, great tour.
Yeah. Did you captain the bar? Was it Kings or was you a leader there?
Well, I actually led from when the captain went off. Lawrence was captain, so but Zinzan Brook was captain actually, and then Lawrence. There was a couple of us shaded out. Yeah,
what a great thing with, like you just said about your career and building up to that time. You know, that's superb. So going on to play for Wales.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say, talk us through that first, not even your first cap, just learning about getting involved with Wales, because surely that's probably going to be one of the biggest moments, if not the biggest highlight of your career.
Yeah, you know, something you always dream of doing, I suppose, coming from my village, was seeing your real heroes, your Ruddocks and, you know, Nigel Meek and all those great players, great people. You know, you just want to aspire to that. And again, I was lucky. The back of these boys, Gareth, Di, John Williams, Mark, they elevated our team, and on the back of that, I was one of the first then to be lucky enough to be selected recognised really, but the recognition was on the back of the team, how good they were. I sort of got into the squad in '96 and I got selected for Australia tour, which to this day probably, whether it's because it was my first tour, I don't know, but to this day is the most memorable thing that I've done really in rugby. It was a 5-week tour. You played the New South Waleses, ACT Brumbies, all of them, New South Wales country, Western Australia, and the test matches. There was lots of games, and I was lucky to play in a lot of the games. I didn't play in the test matches, but to me, I wouldn't have swapped. I wouldn't swap to this day to play in those 5 games and not play in a 2 tests, because at that time I was playing for Wales. You had the jersey, and you was playing for Wales, and I loved that tour. I learned so much. Kevin Bowring coaching, another great coach. Can't say enough about that gentleman. Obviously, another one we lost last year, in the last year or so. But great tour. And yeah, I always remember thinking, oh, Max, is a good question. One thing that I remember more than anything is after playing, I got capped on the return from Australia, and I played a few tests on the trot. I played against France and Australia, Barbarians, played against the Barbarians. And I wasn't thinking, what do I do now? Like, I've made, and you read ever since about, you read about people dreaming to do something, and once they've done it, is that empty feeling. And it was, it really hit me. I was driving on the M4 actually thinking, what do I do now? Like, you honestly are weird. And then you said, obviously, now, and there's a lot to said about it and written about it, and there's that support. But I had to set myself new goals. Obviously, was the only thing, and one of them was to, can I be the captain? That's something. It's something you can't really target to do, but you sort of think, if you play well enough for long enough. I was actually vice captain in my first game against for Wales, calling the lineouts in Welsh, being from Gwent. That was a challenge within itself. Calling the lineouts in Welsh.
That's hard
But
work.
I worked hard. I learned, I've learned a lot more since. But yeah, I'm lying. That was our favourite call for the drive. Obviously, I was like, that was an easy one. Called that a lot, but yeah, no, it was a special, Max, and I probably to this day I've been lucky, but I don't think anything in terms of sport or my achievements has matched that first tour to Australia, really.
Perfect. I want to touch on before the next question is the end of career, which I didn't realise. Kevin Mosley was on, right? One of our first guests, and he said he missed the violence. Now, I didn't realise, right, that's big into some people. In those days, that was the biggest part of rugby, wasn't it? Not being in a horrible way. That's the game changer, how to win games, being violent. And he said, I missed the violence. He said, I had to cope with that. He went through the mental sort of bubble where he was stuck in somewhere where he had to choose to move on in life. And it's surprising, really. You don't realise, do you? When you've achieved your dreams, where'd you go from there?
I think in terms of, being really lucky, in terms of fortunate, in terms of being in a professional game. And then, things have been so fortunate that you take things for granted, but to finish as a professional rugby player in May and start as a director of rugby in the June, I never really faced that sudden death change.
That's right.
I still had that same routine, and then particularly the year after Doncaster with Sale Sharks as a coach, you're in the same environment as I was in Gloucester and Worcester. It's same routines, really. Obviously, be careful though, because if you eat as much as you do when you're a player and you're the coach, you put on about 10 kilos in 4 months. But so that was another lesson I learned. But I try to avoid that now, of course. But and honestly, it's only, I think I would say, like, I finished calendar in June. I did a little bit went in with Japan. It's only through September and October, and again, because I've been coaching, lucky to coach test rugby, you get used to those windows. But I've never really faced it yet.
No.
In terms of that, it's that routine. That routine is gone. And certainly more when you coach international rugby, because you got more intense periods, then you got a break, but you often need those breaks. But yeah, it is a transition to finish playing. And you miss, everyone says they miss the camaraderie and the team spirit. I coached Sale for 7 years, right? And we have a reunion. It don't feel the same. as Ebbw Vale reunion or a Gloucester reunion.
Oh no.
And I think it's because I played, because I was a player.
Yeah, of course.
I was 3 years in
Connected.
Gloucester as a player,
Yeah.
7 years in Sale, but I don't feel that connection, being
No.
honest.
No.
But it's because I'm not a player. And hey, listen, a lot of the players, you're having a reunion now coming up, and they're my age. They know much because I was coaching at 34.
Yeah.
Some of them are not much, they were a similar age now, but it just don't feel the same, and it says so much about when you play, and that when you play with people, you got friendship and bond for life.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like I said at the beginning, I think rugby is, and I try and educate these youngsters now because I know it worked for me. It worked for me, and it's working now. It gives you purpose in life. It gives you identity and your confidence, and it's just your discipline in it. It's a discipline and how to deal with work in life in a way. Really, rugby gives you so many things to deal with different dynamics in life, isn't it?
Yeah, as I say, until you break away from it, you probably don't realize, and we've been lucky, still in. I say lucky, we've worked hard, and you've got those connections, you're good at what you do, and we're lucky. But yeah, quick story. I was a security guard on the door at Sale Sharks. Big Gary, he was a bouncer, and a lovely guy. And I'd always say, "How are you, Gary?" I talk to people like, "How are you?" and that. And I got to know Gary a little bit. 18 months, at Sale, every game he'd be there, very respectful. And we trained at Stockport Rugby Club, and they asked if we'd play, me and son Andre. I wasn't that old, and it was a Saturday. We played Fridays. So we went along and we played for Stockport Seconds.
Wow.
And the captain of Stockport Seconds was Gary. Right? And
He's a leader.
Gary played on the tight end, right? And I played 10. Philippe played 9. I wouldn't play unless I could play 10.
I can't imagine you playing 10, man.
No kick in. So anyway, the story goes, there was a big, second team rugby. There's a bit of a dust up, and everybody's in there, and, usual nonsense. And after that game, Gary and I were not just, "How are you, Gary?" anymore.
No.
We were buddies,
Yeah.
And I again, it was a lesson of, it's like playing with him backing me up, me backing him up.
Yeah.
Me giving him positives, and the connections that you make. I mean, I don't know if I'm talking daft, but
No,
it's just hard to explain. From then on, it wasn't Gary on the door; it was my mate Gary.
Yeah.
And I say with Philippe and him, he was like, it just bonds you, doesn't it?
It does. And before we go on, we're going a bit deep in here, but at the moment, our youth side are not connecting as much as they should, and it's a culture shift since COVID. We had a conversation in a week; they're not training, so I left a message on the group trying to help the coaches. But I'm trying to tell the boys, like exactly what you're saying there, it's a lifelong thing, and it changes things for life. It gives you that tool to get on in life, doesn't it? In lots of different ways, not just one, several different ways to deal with problems, challenges, but becoming a teammate and being there for each other. And so hopefully our youth boys watching this will listen to that and start putting a bit more in. But moving on, Matt, to your Gloucester days now. We're going up into Gloucester. I never thought, and especially your lifelong mate, a good mate of mine, King Byron, what a guy. What a guy. His son's boxing now, which is great to see. But to see you two go up there and play for Gloucester at that, well, I mean, English rugby is a different level in it. So tell us about that, Bud.
Yeah, it was. Look, Ebbw Vale went through some challenging times with the finances. The game went more and more, and we all committed to Ebbw Vale in that period. But then, as it escalated, Ebbw Vale played us well. We weren't greedy. We were just turning professional. We were delighted to get an opportunity. But the game is what it is. Salaries got inflated. People were getting offered money to go over the bridge and different things. And it started with Bath offering me something, and then Gloucester. And I was, at the time you're thinking I'm moving to England, but it's only across. It's not very far away, those two teams.
No.
But yeah, due to the financial things, then I spoke with Byron and I thought there was, look, without dragging up old negative stuff, but there was certainly a push to try and put a few players on a let them go, on a transfer, and let some of the higher earners go. And I thought, you know what? I went to see them and said, look, I've got an opportunity. I got an offer. Some of these boys are going to lose their jobs. Yeah. And I had opportunities. So I without trying to sound noble, it probably was the right time for me to move as well. And I thought, look, me moving on certainly takes somebody off their salaries, and is a new start for me, God. And but it's the bit I don't regret a moment of it. The Premiership at that time, people will forget, it was incredible. I play against Leicester, I play against Neil Back, I play against Northampton, I play against Budge Pountney, the Scotland open side. I play against Harlequins, I play against Kieran Dawson. the Irish open side. You play against David Wilson, the Australian open side. You play Saracens. You play Francois Pienaar, Zinzan Brook was Quins. Like every week for me to be playing against that level, I'm just talking flankers here. You can imagine the rest of the teams. Ian Jones, the All Black lock. Like he played 100 odd times for the All Blacks, 70 odd tests, and to play alongside him, Jason Little, Phil Victor. There was 5 World Cup winners in that group, in the 2000s. So like, what a to be that fortunate to be alongside those guys, and the learnings you take from playing with them. I've missed out Andre. I missed out a boatload of great players there, by the way, that were at Gloucester. So Junior Paramore, Steve Ajomo, his son Max is now playing for Bath in England.
Yeah,
just great. Just great. And like you said about the connections, but I went down to Bath to watch my daughter play university rugby a couple of weeks ago. I texted Steve Ajomo to tell him I was in Bath. I haven't reached out to him for years. Wow. Who came to watch the game with me? Steve Ajomo. What were we like we hadn't seen each other since yesterday. It's remarkable, isn't it, rugby, what it can do.
Superb. So moved on to Worcester then, did you?
Yeah. I was there 3 years at Gloucester, and Cecil Duckworth was at Worcester. Really, Cecil, really good man, and he just asked to meet me one day, and I was curious, so I met with. Can you hear me okay, guys?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. I met with Cecil, and he told me about his plans for Worcester and how he wanted to do these things, and he was excited about it. And again, it was a little bit of a conversation around being captain, and he needed a captain as much as anything. And I was excited by that. Having said that, I was loving my time at Gloucester, but Andrew Hazel, who went on to play for England, is a great open side flanker coming through. Phil Vickery, potentially becoming the captain, was a conversation we'd had. And I just felt the time was right to, again, 3 years, have another challenge. And I loved my time at Worcester. It didn't last as long as I was planning. But my heart was calling for Wales, and Pontypridd got back in touch with me. I had one season with Worcester as captain. Wow. And my last season playing, people forget, really. Not people, but I went back to Ponty for another year. And again, they had That was 2003 again with a fantastic team, Gethin Jenkins, Mevin Davis, Matthew Rees, Duncan Bell, Sid Oley, Cobain, Chief, Parksy, Richard was a great player, Richard Parks. Again, Jinx, Kerry, 2 fly halves, the depth we had, Johnsy, and Gareth Bieber. Like, it was a great. They won the European Shield, I think, didn't we? And we had a really good time. So that was my last year. Nice to go back there, So although I had a few clubs and moved around, it was always the same couple of clubs that I worked with.
So before Max asks the next question, I with Pontypridd, it's sad to see them in the situation they are in. Not to go into too much depth about it, but a club of that magnitude, it breaks my heart really to see them where they are now in the game. Like, we can't connect with English clubs. We can't play. We have to regionalise things in Wales, and Ponty have left that, losing that identity really as a world class rugby club, isn't it? And it's sad to see really. So you had our best days of them, but.
Yeah, no, like I say, great times, and the club is still there. They still produce players, but like you say, the landscape has changed, isn't it? That's the reality.
That's life, but that's life.
So moving away from your playing career, Kings, obviously when we had Kevin Mosley on, we spoke to him and he went into coaching. And I think that's probably the natural route for a lot of players. How did that come about with you? And did you just feel that was the next natural step, or did you feel like that was something you'd always wanted to do? And what was your first coaching role?
My first coaching role is in New Zealand, about 19, and my father was working with counties rugby, going into schools, and to earn a bit of money, I get a job, and I was going in with the kids, coaching the kids in schools, giving away balls, and I loved it. I love coaching, love sharing, communicating, connecting, and seeing, especially with the youngsters, how they responded, and how quickly they got better, and the fun we had. So I loved that, and then that's where it started. And then at Ebbw Vale in '94, I don't know if you were there at this point, Garrett, but I was actually picking the team and the coach along with Nigel Way.
I remember that. When he rang me up, he was telling me that at the time, really.
And I did a lot. Yeah, and I was doing a lot of recruitment. So when I say I coached 23 years, actually people who know that Ebbw Vale story, I was coaching for about 18 months, 2 years there, in my mid-20s. But Lee Jones, we were lucky to get Lee Jones, and great coach, and we got him. Obviously, the game going professional. My time with Wales, the Wales team went full-time in the daytimes, you know, so we needed more coaching staff, and we were lucky to get Lee, and Nigel stayed on, and through that, Mostyn Richards, who was with the Welsh Rugby Union as a coach developer, he spoke to me about going on the courses level 1, 2, and 3, and that's what I did. You know, I did those, and even I went on the level 4 in 2000 when I was still playing. But again, I owe that to Mostyn. He sort of fast-tracked me.
Good stuff. Right, we have to say, I've just been told we got 10 minutes unless we have to upgrade. We have to pay for a Zoom. So we can jam things in 10 minutes. That'd be great. I was going to touch on, when you're coaching, right? You've coached in different cultures, haven't you? Different environments. And as a Welshman, sometimes I find it hard, but not hard, but you seem as a bit mad as a Welshman when you're in environments that are not so used to the Welsh culture. So for you, as a character, right, so infectious and you know, really funny, really, anyway, you know, it'd be great, get connected with people and get the best out of people by that attitude. And so was that ever a struggle for you, connecting with different cultures and you know, like different countries?
I think it's a good question. It's a good question. And look, someone said to me once, you could coach Welshmen all the rest of my life, because, you know, that's easy for me. And it's not, by the way, but someone suggested that.
Yeah.
And going back to the Dragons, I realized it's a lot easier because we've got shared values, shared background, same language, same, you know. I think the first learning for me was coaching Russia. And you're right what you say, you know, and where I am now in my coaching is word efficiency, guy. The less words, the better. Word efficiency. Same with everything. If I send a text message, it ain't very long. Well, you've seen I've sent you a few. Yeah. Because I don't want this. It clouds things. There's no clarity and in what you're saying, and it can be misread or whatever. But the first thing that struck me is in Russia when I'm speaking about, and we do this as Welshmen, don't we? You know what I mean, right? To be fair, to be honest with you. But if we do that now I've said 30 words there and I've said nothing, right? Yeah. That old Welsh saying, why use one word when 1,000 will do, you know? So I'm there with a translator, of course, and I'm talking to the group when I first went in, and I'm saying stuff, and then the translator says it, and before you know it, I'm thinking, well, it's been 10 minutes now since I started, you know, so it made me really focus on what I was saying, really refine what I'm saying. And that helped me a lot in terms of learning about, and I carry that in, whether we speak English or whatever the language we're speaking in. Minimal words, minimal points, simplify things, you know. And again, we say it's a Welsh way and we are connected, but God, how many times do we see a circle at the end of a training session or the game, and we're talking for 15 minutes, you walk off? What was the point? What points were we trying to get out of that? I can't remember anything that was said because everybody's chatting. So that's really important in coaching, obviously, and that's not rocket science, it's level 2 stuff. But, you know, to get your point, you can connect off the field, you can connect, ask questions, get to know your players, make them feel valued, listen to them. You know, once you've got that connection, then, you know, hopefully you build trust, because that's what we're trying to do. So you're right, connection through humor is really, you know, something I've been able to do. However, there has to be other ways as well. You can't just connect with the ones that like a laugh, because some people don't. Some people know the same humor, and some people from different parts of the world. So big learning on that one, guy.
It is learning, and culture's changed. And the culture, I think, from COVID has changed. A lot of these youngsters don't understand a lot of the things you try and tell them from your day, the way you was talked to. Not saying it's wrong, because I learned an awful lot from it. I think it should still be kept real in rugby, but there is ways of putting it over, like you said.
I got one more.
Go on. And I got a couple. One more. Sorry. We'll carry on.
Just one more for me, Kings. We asked this to, I think, every player we've had on. Through your career, who would you say is the best player you played with?
I think I got asked that recently. Look, the best players lucky to play with is obviously Jonah Lomu, and played with him in the Barbarian game, and I played in a couple of charity games, and that's an obvious one. But I think the best player I played in a club with, you know, was like you say, I was lucky to play with so many. But Ian Jones, the old Black Lock I mentioned, to be playing seasons with him, I played a couple of seasons with him. He stands out because he was a great player. I don't think he made a mistake in training for 4 or 5 months. By the way, he couldn't bench press 90 kilos, I remember at the time.
Strange,
But he could play the game. You'd never see him in the physio room. You'd never see him with an excuse. Always had a positive mindset of the game. And he's probably made a big mark on me as someone I play with week in, week out. But, you know, I'd be remiss not to say the impact Mark had on me, or, you know, other players, my friends, you know, the Byrons and all those guys. But certainly Ian Jones is someone that I played with for a number of years that never failed to sort of like, I can't remember him having bad games or making mistakes or being negative. You know, he's a real good player.
Richie Collins seemed to be a bit like that, wasn't he? He was a type of guy, when we had him, you know, with the experience he had, he's always played well, didn't he? And it's a unique skill, really. But so you're living back in Monmouth, but before we finish, great to have you home, right? It's wonderful to see you again. Always tracked what you was doing, you know, because you changed my life from a young man to play with you in those days. So I owe you in high regard. Thank you for coming on tonight. So your plans for the future, but, you know, not sort of like going too deep into it. What's your ambitions now then, back in Wales? And what would you like to get out of rugby now at your stage?
Get Monmouth to regional level and win the URC is my first...
Nice to see you working with Di, it is. Like, you know, like I said, it's great, that is, yeah. But yeah. Right,
it's payback, you know. People are good to you on the way, and he was good to me, Di, when I started out. And, you know, it's if you don't, you know, help people if you can. So I got some time, a little bit of time. It's not compromising too much on what I'm doing in my family, so I'm happy to help. But no, I think go with me at the moment. I really want to. My next job is going to be a job that I really want to do, not that I have to do or I want to do. Need to do. And you know, most of us in life, I need a bloody job. You know, you got to get a job. But at that moment, I got a few things ticking over, and I'm okay. So I'm waiting for the right opportunity. I'm at a good age, and I think that I got enough energy and stuff to really get my teeth into something, a big project. But it's got to be a right project I get excited about. So we'll see. Obviously, bringing the family back to Wales tells you something. It's probably going to be in the UK. However, I would go to another country again. That's the sacrifices I've had to make, and I still will if it's the right job. But ideally, it'd be in the UK, and something that, you know, really somewhere we can really make a difference and help, and have the right support to actually implement what you want to do. Because we all like coaching, but we all know the hurdles we come up against, and sometimes there's so many uncontrollables. We still crack on anyway, and we blind to it. We still fight, but we find a way. But ideally, I'd like that sort of challenge, Gabba. We'll see what comes. I haven't. I went in with Japan again in November, and since
what's your Japanese like?
Konnichiwa. Okay, that's about all I got.
There we go. Learning. But yeah. So, I mean, for me, but I you know, with the way Welsh rugby is, you're a big influence on the game in Wales for us. But it's got to be fitting well for you. But I wish you all the best, my friend. You're a great man, and a great rugby man, really, and a full-rounded guy to influence those next generations. Then, so I wish you all the best.
Guys. It's nice of you both to be so generous with your comments. I appreciate it, Garen. You were great for Ebbw Vale. I tell you, you contributed massively. You know, you had Di Llewellyn in front of you in your opposition, and he was a great player. And you know, it's no. Sometimes you're coaching, you know, you see a guy who's not picked all the time, and it's through no fault of their own. It's like the guy in front of you is just that good, But you can't. But your positive, your youth players, I can tell them all if you want to show them this, is how positive, what a great team member you were. And that, without you and people like you, Gar, that never were in the limelight, perhaps first choice every week, that team would never have done what it's done. And it's like people like you need to be very proud of your contribution to that group as well.
Thank you, Bert. Thank you. So have a nice Christmas, buddy. Right? Great to see you. Hopefully, you never know. I'm almost quite away from you, but we might cross paths at some stage. Max, thank you, bud. Yeah.
Thank you, Max.
Have a great Christmas, buddy. Look after yourself.
Great to see you, boys. Great to see you. You take care.